So I was up all night last night watching two different elections, two different TV screen in front of me, waiting for the results of the election of Trinidad and Tobago and the election in Canada. And I believe that these two elections that ironically took place on the same night, that these two elections are the most consequential election for the Caribbean for 2025, especially the Eastern Caribbean. I know that there are some more elections coming up in 2025. I know Jamaica election is coming up. I know there's an election coming up in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But my personal belief is that this election, Canada, and the election that took place in Trinidad and Tobago, the two most important election for the Caribbean region. And the results are so different. Trinidad and Tobago voted for change. And I believe that Canada voted out of fear. So, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about Trinidad and Tobago. So Trinidad and Tobago, the UNC won the election last night and the results were in very early. And this election wasn't even close. It was pretty much like a trashing that the UNC put on. And this, I think for most people who follow what is going on in Trinidad, for the people on the ground in Trinidad, for the people across the Caribbean who have interest in the election in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think this was a surprise. This was not a surprise to me because when you look at what's been going on in Trinidad and Tobago for the past 10 years and the amount of leverage that because Trinidad is always known as a powerhouse in the Caribbean. And we have seen from, the ending of last year with the foreign exchange crisis, we have seen an increase in crime. We saw a state of emergency last year. And then we saw the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, we saw that he stepped down. And I think it was more because he was unpopular, even though he stated in the last election that this would be his last run. But however, he stepped down and appointed Prime Minister Young, interim Prime Minister, which I believe that there wasn't enough time for him to get his footing right in terms of being a Prime Minister. And if you ask me personally, I believe that the election was called way too early because he just got in like a few months ago. So I believe that he called the election way too early. But I don't think this was a surprise. And would it have turned out any other way, like if he had delayed? Probably not. But the interesting thing about this victory for the UNC is that the former Prime Minister, Kamala Persad, will return to office. And it was just a few months ago at the CARICOM Heads of Government that the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, was addressing the leaders in the Caribbean. And at one point she said, like, I wish I could say my brothers and sisters because she's the only female Prime Minister in the Caribbean. So now she has company. Now the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, has company and someone with experience, someone that's been there before. And they were very elated. And this is what the end of the night in Trinidad looked like with a big celebration coming from the UNC headquarters. Let's take a look.
Trinbago, yellow is the code. Happiness is the code. Positivity is the code. And above all, love is the code. Love is the code. Thank you for joining us here today in Aranguez, the birthplace of our great UNC party, right here in the mud in Aranguez. We were born here in Aranguez, so this is sacred ground. It is sacred ground. And as I start this evening, I start with a few words of gratitude to the UNC membership. You have carried me for many years, seen me fight for you when I was a young woman in the first UNC government to now. My body may have aged because of the years of battering, bruising, humiliation, ridicule, abuse, and insults. I've been called the worst things anyone can be called. I've been called Jamet, which I'm not. I've been called drunk, which I'm not. I've been called dog. I've been called every nasty word in between. But to you, my loving UNC rank and file members, I was always Kamla. Do not fear, Kamla is here. Through it all, I never became angry. I never became bitter. Because in my darkest moments, I always had the love and comfort of the loyal rank and file UNC membership.
Okay, guys, so that was the celebration coming out of the UNC camp. And as I said, the UNC defeated the PNM, and that was like a thrashing. It wasn't even close. So, guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know, what do you feel about this election? Do you think that the UNC can bring back Trinidad and Tobago to some of its previous glory days with in terms of energy? I know the Dragon deal is pretty much off the table for now, but there's a lot of project that is coming up in Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the things is that I hope some of the project that the PNM was currently working on, that those projects will still go ahead. You know, for example, the new deal with the company from Nigeria to take over the petrol plant, the refining plant. I hope that deal still goes through. I hope the flight, connecting Trinidad to Africa, I hope that goes through. And a lot of the other projects that are up and coming, because sometimes when you have a change of government, they have a tendency in the Caribbean to just like abandon the project that the previous government was undertaking. So I hope that's not the case. But sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Do you love this victory for Trinidad and Tobago? And do you think that this is better for the Caribbean region, and this will help Trinidad to get back to its glory days? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So next, let's talk about Canada. So Canada election, that one was interesting. As I said, I believe that the people of Trinidad and Tobago voted for change. And that is understandable. If you have gone through the last 10 years and you have seen like your earnings less, you have seen things get more expensive, you have seen an increase of crime and all of those things, you would want change. So Trinidad voted for change, but Canada, I think what happened in Canada with the Liberal winning a fourth straight election, like it wasn't like a thrashing like what happened in Trinidad and Tobago. It was a very, very close election. But from what happened last year with Justin Trudeau was going to suffer the worst defeat. When you look at all the polls, Justin Trudeau would have been like wiped out completely if Justin Trudeau decided to run again. So him stepping down and anointing Mark Carney seem now like a power move, because Mark Carney in the last minute came and he pulled it through, and he is giving the Conservative their fourth loss with 4 different leaders. And I know that must be devastating for the Conservative of Canada. But, for most people, most political pundits are saying this is all about Donald Trump, because before Donald Trump started this whole trade war and talking about Canada to be the 51st state, the Conservatives were comfortable. Like no one saw them losing under any condition. So the fact that Mark Carney just stepped in, not even 6 months, and he's now the Prime Minister, that is something interesting. So guys, sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this victory. Are you surprised that the Liberals were able to pull it off. And it is so bad that the Conservative, the leader of the Conservative, Pierre Poilievre, lost his own seat. That's how bad it was. So this is the victory speech and from the new Prime Minister of Canada.
I've been warning for months. America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. We are once again at one of those hinge moments of history. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
But you're going to take us forward.
We have to look out for ourselves. And above all, we have to take care of each other. And my message to every Canadian is this: no matter where you live, no matter what language you speak, no matter how you voted, I will always do my best to represent everyone who calls Canada home.
Okay, so that was Mark Carney, officially the new Prime Minister of Canada. And as I said, it was very close. But the fact that the Liberals were down in the poll, like even up until November, December, they were way down in every single poll you can look at. And for him to come and pull this one out, this is amazing. But I think for most people are saying that this is the Trump effect because of the whole trade war. And I think you have to give Mark Carney credit. He came in and a lot of things that were unpopular with the Liberals in terms of carbon tax. And he also changed his plan on capital gains. So I believe that Canadians looked at that and say, like, okay, this is not Justin Trudeau, because Justin Trudeau looked very weak when he was going up against the Conservatives. So Mark Carney came in, and I think you have to give him credit for that. He said, like, look, the carbon tax, it's not the right time. The capital gains, it's not the right time. And they managed to pull out this victory. So, and as I said earlier, I believe that these two elections, Trinidad and Tobago and the Canadian election, is two of the most important elections in 2025 when it comes down to the Caribbean. And why I believe that this, especially Canada, because you might think, what does Canada have to do with the Caribbean and with the trade war going on? I personally believe that this trade war is going to take a different tone after the election. I think Donald Trump, because this on again, off again thing, it's not good for businesses, whether in North America and in the Caribbean. And we have this saying that, when America sneezes, the Caribbean catch cold. So anything that is happening in North America pretty much affects the Caribbean. So I believe that with this election, that just wrapped up, that Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, will end up flying to America to sit down with Donald Trump, and then we'll see the tone of this whole trade war kind of tone down a bit. And I think that we'll go to, if we can ever see a Trump administration being normal, I think that is where we're heading. So this is good for the Caribbean also. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on these two elections. Which one is more surprising to you? Are you more surprised that the UNC was able to pull out a victory and that the people of Trinidad voted for change? Or are you surprised that the Canadians decided that, look, we had the worst 10 years probably in Canadian history under a Liberal government, but because the fear of Donald Trump and Donald Trump linked to the Conservative of Canada and them trying to tie the conservative leader, Pollier, to Donald Trump. So the Canadians decided that, you know what? Let's vote for the Liberal. Let's stick to the Liberal. So Canada did not vote for change. Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.